2 years ago, I moved back into my childhood home. My mother had passed away, and they wanted to revive old memories. I was 32 years old, freelance, and trying to push through my grief with art. The house was filled with dusty furniture and creaky floorboards. I was determined to go through everything. One hot afternoon, I decided to check the attic. It felt heavy and eerily silent up there. I was looking for old fabrics to use in my designs. That's when I spotted an old box in the corner. I pulled it towards me and opened it. Inside was a porcelain doll, her skin cracked, her dress faded. I was intrigued, but also unsettled. Maybe it would make a quirky addition to my workspace. I took the doll downstairs without thinking much of it. The first night, I set the doll on my desk. It was kind of creepy, but I liked its character. The next few days were strange. I noticed drafts in my room, drafts that seemed to follow me around. Objects seemed to shift just slightly to catch my eye. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. My cat, Lucy, started acting weird, sitting by the doll for hours, staring at it. I'd look at her, and my heart would race. What was going on? Then the giggles started. I woke up one night to the sound of laughter echoing through my dark room. My heart raced in my chest. I tried to convince myself it was just in my head, but it continued, creeping into my thoughts. Each night it got worse. Was the doll connected to this laughter? I wasn't sure, but I was terrified. Lucy was restless too. She hissed at the doll, refusing to come near it. I could feel panic rising in me. I snapped pictures of the doll and posted them online, hoping someone might know its story. But the comments were vague, just people's curiosity. I felt alone with this thing. One evening, I returned home late. My head felt heavy from a long day of work. I walked into the living room, searching for comfort. I flicked on the light, and my breath caught. The doll was gone. I looked around but couldn't find it. My pulse quickened, and just as I started to feel the panic rise, I heard it again. That giggle, clear and close. I turned around slowly, my heart pounding. Suddenly, I saw the doll sitting at the top of the stairs. The hair on my arms stood up. I whispered, "Why are you here?" My voice trembled, and it echoed back to me. I was paralyzed for a moment. Part of me wanted to turn and run, but another part, curiosity mixed with dread, pulled me closer. The doll just sat there, staring, as if it beckoned me to find out more. What did it want? What was I dealing with? The past had found me, and I didn't know if I was ready to confront it. I stood there, frozen, staring at the doll. It looked even creepier in the dim light, its cracked face somehow more sinister. The giggles faded into silence, and all I could hear was my own heavy breathing. I felt trapped, like the house had closed in around me. Slowly, I took a step forward. My mind raced.
Why was it at the top of the stairs? Had I really moved it down from my desk? I couldn't remember. With trembling hands, I reached for the railing, my knuckles white. Lucy meowed softly behind me, but I didn't look back. Something was pulling me toward that doll. As I climbed the stairs, I couldn't shake the feeling of dread. Suddenly, I noticed something shiny glinting in the dim light at the doll's feet. It was a tiny key, old and ornate. I bent down to pick it up, but my fingers brushed against the doll's dress. A chill shot through me. I yanked my hand back as if burned. I stared at the doll, my heart in my throat. I had to know what the key was for. I glanced around the house, wondering if there were any locked drawers or doors. I remembered the old trunk in the attic, the one my mother had kept covered. Maybe it held something important, something that would explain the doll and the laughter. Fear and curiosity battled within me as I backed away from the doll and hurried down the hallway. Every creak of the floorboards beneath my feet echoed in the silence, intensifying my anxiety. I reached the attic door and pulled it open, the hinges protesting with a loud squeal. The attic was still dark, and I grabbed a flashlight from the shelf. I aimed the beam to search the corners where cobwebs hung like curtains. The trunk was in the center, dust layering it like an old quilt. My pulse raced as I approached it, key in hand. With hesitant hands, I examined the lock. The tiny key seemed to fit perfectly. My heart thumped louder as I turned it slowly. It clicked open with an eerie finality. I lifted the heavy lid, and a musty smell wafted up, almost like a warning. Inside, there were old letters, faded photos, and toys that looked like they had not seen light in decades. I rifled through them, heart racing. Then my fingers brushed against something smooth and cold. I pulled out a small music box, its surface patterned with delicate roses. I hesitated, glancing back toward the stairs. "What are you hiding?" I whispered to the doll in the back of my mind. My hands shook as I opened the box. A haunting melody began to play, and I felt a rush of air behind me, almost like a sigh. I turned, but I was alone. Was I really alone? Every instinct urged me to leave, to slam the lid shut and run, but my curiosity was stronger. I had to know what the music box held, what connection it had to the doll and this house. Then everything went silent. The music stopped. The air felt thick and charged. I swore I could hear something whispering in the darkness. "Help me." The melody lingered in my ears, mixing with my nervous breath. Suddenly, the attic door slammed shut behind me. Panic surged, and I turned back toward the trunk, my heart racing. I was trapped, and I wasn't alone anymore. I quickly spun around, my heart pounding in my chest. The attic felt impossibly small, the shadows dancing like they had a life of their own.
For a moment, there was only silence, thick and suffocating. Then I heard it, a soft whisper, more urgent this time. "Help me." I wanted to scream, to yell for someone, anyone, but I couldn't find my voice. Instead, I forced myself to breathe. I was just being silly, right? This was an old house with its creaks and groans. I clutched the music box tightly in my hands, feeling its cool surface against my clammy palms. "Get a grip," I muttered under my breath. I needed to find out what was happening, and I could either get trapped in my head or figure this out. With a determined breath, I shone the flashlight around the attic, searching for any signs of whatever was causing this creepiness. That's when I saw it, a flicker of movement near the far wall. My breath hitched in my throat. I aimed the flashlight in that direction, and the beam landed on an old mirror. It looked warped, like a funhouse reflection, but somehow familiar. And in that reflection, I saw something, or someone, standing behind me. I whipped around, but there was nothing there, just the trunk and the dusty floor. My heart raced even faster now. I turned back to the mirror. The figure remained, faint but visible, a young girl with pigtails, wearing an old-fashioned dress. My stomach twisted. Was that Lucy? No, this girl looked different. I couldn't tear my eyes away. The girl in the mirror lifted her finger to her lips, as if to shush me. My throat went dry. I felt that weight again, that urge to retreat, but I stood my ground. "Who are you?" I whispered, knowing deep down that I might not like the answer. In response, the girl smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It felt like a warning. Then she turned and walked away, disappearing into the mirror's depths. I stumbled back. The reflection rippled like shattered glass, and I could almost hear water, a soft, flowing sound. Without thinking, I reached for the mirror, my fingers brushing against the cold surface. But it felt like there was something just beyond it, something waiting. I pulled back sharply, a wave of dread washing over me. I needed to leave. I needed to get out of this attic and away from that music box. With my pulse racing, I darted back to the door, but when I pulled at the handle, it wouldn't budge. My panic flared. "Let me out!" I shouted, banging on the door. The whispers returned, echoing around me. It felt like the whole attic was alive with voices, calling to me, begging for attention. Then I noticed the music box again. The lid was slowly inching open, and I felt a pull. I couldn't resist it. The melody began to play once more, soft and haunting. I stepped closer, unable to look away, as if the music was drawing me in. "Don't!" I told myself, but it was too late. I leaned over the box, just as the whispers intensified. "Join us!" they urged in unison. And then everything went dark. I gasped as I awoke to find myself sprawled on the attic floor, the beam from my flashlight flickering dimly above me. The music box was closed now, the haunting melody silenced. I rubbed my eyes, trying to shake off the disorientation. What just happened? Had I passed out? I scrambled to sit up, my heart still racing. The attic felt still but charged, like the air before a storm. I tried to shake off the lingering fear, but the chill clung to me. I needed a plan. I took a deep breath and crawled toward the mirror, compelled by an instinct I couldn't explain. The girl's reflection had vanished now, but the mirror looked different now. It was darker, murkier, as if shadowy water flowed just beneath the surface. I leaned closer, mesmerized, when suddenly I noticed something at my feet, something small and white, partially hidden by dust. I picked it up. It was a doll, an old porcelain thing with yellowing lace and glassy eyes that seemed too lifelike. My breath caught in my throat. It wasn't just any doll. It was the same one I remembered from when I was little, the one Lucy used to play with before she disappeared. Panic bubbled in my chest. How did this doll end up here? I turned it over in my hands, searching for answers, but all I found was a name painted delicately on the bottom. Clara. I felt a sense of unease wash over me, a connection I couldn't quite grasp. What did it mean? Did it tie to Lucy? Get a grip, you're just imagining things, I said to myself, but deep down I felt a sense of dread creeping back in. Then the whispers returned, softer this time, but insistent. Clara. Instinctively, I pulled back, clutching the doll tightly. I could hear faint laughter mingling with the whispers. It was disembodied and unsettling, almost as if Lucy were there, just out of reach. I tried to shake the feeling off, but it clung to me like a shadow. Then a sudden crash echoed from downstairs. I froze, darkness creeping back into my mind. What now? Was something in the house? I couldn't stay here. With shaky legs, I stood, half dragging myself toward the door again. This time, I yanked at the handle with all my strength. It still wouldn't budge. "Let me out!" I cried again, more desperate this time. The laughter echoed louder, drowning out my cries. The attic felt alive, vibrating with an energy that set my teeth on edge. There was no way I was going to stay here any longer. The mirror's surface shimmered as I turned away, and in the corner of my eye, I thought I caught a glimpse of the girl again. I spun back. She stood right there, just beyond the glass, watching me with those same eerie eyes. The space behind her was dark, void-like, and I felt the urge to step closer, compelled to understand the truth hidden in the depths. But then I heard it again, a low, rumbling sound from below, followed by a soft, pleading voice. "Help me." Every instinct screamed at me to run. I had to find a way out of this room, out of this nightmare. I took one last look at the mirror, at the girl whose expression had shifted from a smile to something more sinister, before I turned and pounded on the door one more time. "Let me out!" And just as I said it, the music box creaked open once more, the haunting melody spilling back into the air. The melody twisted through the attic, curling around me like smoke. My pulse quickened. I couldn't stay here. Panic surged again, and I turned to the door, throwing my weight against it. It still wouldn't budge. My heart raced, each thud against the wood echoing the urgency in my chest. Then I heard it. A soft chime from the music box, followed by the unmistakable laughing voice that sent a chill racing down my spine. "Come play with us." It felt wrong, too cheerful against the dark backdrop of my fear. I clutched the doll tighter, needing some connection to reality. Looking around the attic, I noticed the shadows shifting, moving in the corners as if they had their own lives. My flashlight flickered again, and I cursed under my breath, striking it against my palm. I had to think. I couldn't let whatever was happening here swallow me whole. With a deep breath, I decided to inspect the music box. It had a delicate design, a small carved fairy dancing on top. Crowded among the dusty boxes, scraps of paper caught my eye. I shuffled through them, feeling an urgency building. They were clippings, faded and worn, like they had been tucked away for years. I froze as I picked one up. There was a picture of a girl, Lucy. It was from the days when she was still with us. The caption read, "Mysterious disappearance of local child." My breath caught. Beneath it, the name Clara was scribbled in pencil, along with a date, 2 years ago. "What does this mean?" I whispered to myself, the fear clawing at my throat. Was Clara another missing child? Why was this in my attic? The music box continued its melody, quiet now, almost enticing. It felt like it was trying to pull me in closer. Beyond the mirror, I sensed a flicker of movement. The girl was still watching. I shook my head, trying to shake off the suffocating weight of dread pulling at me. "Clara," I muttered, feeling a pull towards that name. I stepped closer to the music box, glancing at the doll, and cocked my head. "Are you Clara?" Suddenly, the girl behind the glass smiled, and the air thickened with an almost tangible energy. My instinct screamed for me to back away, but I was rooted to the spot. I could hear her voice clearer now, almost as if she was standing next to me, whispering in my ear. "Help me." I snapped back to reality, the urgency swelling inside me once again. I had to get out. My palms pushed against the music box desperately, and I felt it shift, revealing a small hidden compartment beneath it. A chill ran through me as I pried it open. Inside, nestled among dust and aged paper, was a small key. My heart raced. Where did it lead? That soft, pleading voice echoed in my mind. "Help me."
The urgency in her tone made me stop, even as the footsteps moved ever closer behind me. "Who? Find who?" I yelled back, desperate now. "I don't understand." But her eyes held a pain that transcended words. "You have to find Lucy," she pleaded, and that name echoed in every dark corner of the room. "She's trapped, just like me." Before I could respond, the shadows shifted again, elongating and swirling together into something darker, more solid. I turned to face it, heart pounding. The room grew colder, and a chill enveloped me. The footsteps had vanished. Suddenly, a voice boomed from the mass of shadows. "No more!" it bellowed, shaking the walls. I felt the weight of its anger, the pressure building like a storm ready to break. "Get out of my house!" I shouted at the figure, but it didn't flinch. Instead, it lingered, a looming threat. My senses peaked, unsure of how to escape this impending chaos. That's when I saw it, a pale, delicate hand reaching out from the shadows, and a glimpse of a small face, wide-eyed and desperate, pushing against the darkness. My heart dropped. "I'll find you," I promised, pride and determination fueling my voice, even as fear gnawed at my insides. But before I could formulate a plan, the shadows surged forward, enveloping the room in darkness. I had to decide quickly, fight or flee. A sound broke the silence, drawing my attention back to the woman. She was gone, and so was the locket. I could feel my heart race as dread settled in. I knew I couldn't stop now. I had to find Lucy. I stumbled back, my breathing quickening as the shadows pressed in around me.
The darkness felt alive, heavy, and suffocating. With no time to think, I instinctively turned towards the hallway that led to the kitchen. I had to get out of this room, away from whatever was lurking. The dim light from a flickering bulb above guided my shaky steps, but it only cast more shadows that played tricks on my mind. I glanced back, half expecting to see the woman or the figure in the darkness following me. But all I could hear was the unsettling music still drifting from the living room, a haunting lull that felt like it was mocking my fear. I reached the kitchen and pushed the door open, wincing at the loud creak it made. I scanned the space, searching for something, anything, to make sense of what had just happened. My eyes landed on an old cupboard in the corner, its heavy wooden frame barely standing. I'd never paid much attention to it before. It had always seemed out of place in a house filled with childhood memories. My hands trembled as I opened the cupboard doors, expecting dust and disarray. Instead, I found a collection of old dolls, their glassy eyes staring back at me in eerie silence. They were strange and unsettling, with cracked porcelain faces and hair that looked like it hadn't been touched in years. One of them, a small blonde girl dressed in a faded blue dress, caught my attention. She looked almost too familiar. Lucy?
Lucy, he whispered. The name slipped from my lips before I could stop it. The doll's eyes seemed to glimmer, almost as if they responded to my voice. I felt a chill run through me, and I quickly shut the cupboard door. This wasn't right. Dolls didn't belong here. But then I remembered the woman's urgency. She wanted me to find Lucy. I couldn't shake the feeling that this doll might hold the key to finding her. With a decision made, I opened the cupboard again and reached for the doll. As soon as my fingers brushed against her face, a rush of memories surged in. A bright room filled with laughter, a child's joy mixed with something darker. Before I could understand what was happening, a loud crash echoed from the living room. My heart lurched in my chest. I stepped back, clutching the doll tightly. "What was that?" I murmured. The music continued, but now felt distorted, like it was in agony. I moved cautiously toward the living room, the doll feeling heavy in my hands. Each step felt like I was crossing a threshold, stepping deeper into whatever nightmare had gripped this house. I peeked around the corner, and my breath caught in my throat. The furniture had shifted. An unnatural haze filled the air, and the shadows seemed to pulse with energy. And there, in the heart of the room, I saw a flicker of movement, something small darting near the box. Suddenly, a cold wind swept through the space, extinguishing the last bits of light. I realized I had to act fast. "Lucy!" I called out again, hoping that whatever was lurking would reveal itself. But the silence that answered me was suffocating. Stranded in that dark moment, I felt the weight of unresolved questions crushing down. I needed answers, and I needed them now. Yet the shadows around me whispered warnings, urging me to turn away. I took a step forward, heart racing, determined to reclaim whatever connection I could find before it slipped completely away. And then I saw it, a glimmering light in the darkness. I knew it was significant. As I inched closer, my foot suddenly snagged on something.
I lost my balance, crashing into a table and sending a lamp tumbling to the ground. The bulb shattered, and the room plunged into deeper darkness. Someone's here, I thought, panic surging in my veins. A voice echoed from the other side of the room, that same haunting melody morphing into whispers that clawed at my sanity. I had to know what this meant. Somehow I was getting closer to Lucy, and I couldn't turn back now. I swallowed hard, trying to steady my racing heart as I surveyed the mess I'd made. The room was still cloaked in darkness, but that glint of light shone like a beacon. I was determined to reach it, to uncover the truth before whatever shadow was haunting me took that chance away. With every cautious step, I could feel the air grow colder, suffocating, pressing on my chest. The music box's melody continued to play softly, wrapping around my thoughts as if enticing me to come closer.
I couldn't let the melody lure me into complacency. I was well aware that it held secrets, dark ones, that could trap me forever. Just a little further, I muttered to myself, my voice echoing in the stillness. I concentrated on that glimmering light, inching forward until finally I reached the source. It was a small pendant on the floor, covered in dust, yet glowing with an inner light. I recognized it, another locket, this one shaped like a butterfly, intricately designed with an image carved on its surface. Could this have belonged to Lucy too? I knelt down to pick it up, heart pounding. The moment my fingers grazed the cold metal, the world around me stilled. The whispers crescendoed, the laughter peeking through my skin as a wave of memories enveloped me like a thick fog. "Help me," the voice of the girl echoed, sweeter and yet darker. "Please." A faint image fluttered before me, Lucy's joyful face, her laughter bright and carefree, but it quickly morphed into something more shadowy. I closed my eyes, squeezing the locket as if the pressure could dispel the dark tendrils crawling at the edge of my mind. "Lucy!" I called again, desperate now to bring her back, to make her real. I opened my eyes just as the music shifted tone, almost pleading, as if urging me to remember why I had come back here in the first place. "Stay together or lose each other forever," the diary had said, reverberating in my mind. I had to find Lucy. Determined, I turned back toward the room. I needed to see clearly, and a sudden rush of courage propelled me forward. I flicked on my flashlight, and the beam cut through the darkness. The room transformed, the shadows fluttering like moths away from the light, each one retreating to the corners, revealing shapes that didn't belong. What I saw made my stomach churn. The furniture was strewn about as if a storm had passed through. But there, in the center, the music box lay open, the fairy dancing frozen in place. I had unwittingly woken something, and now it seemed to be watching me, dark eyes glimmering through the chaos. "Lucy, where are you?" I shouted, my voice strong, even as uncertainty crept in again. The room remained silent, but a low rumble echoed through the floor beneath my feet, an unsettling reminder that I wasn't alone. Suddenly, a figure burst forth from the shadows, a girl, small and delicate, with pigtails that bounced as she moved.
My heart skipped. Lucy, I stammered, feeling a mixture of hope and dread. She was real, but something felt off. "Help me," she said simply, her voice tinged with urgency. Yet the way she looked at me felt ancient, like she had seen things I could scarcely imagine. "They're waiting," she added, glancing back over her shoulder as if expecting something sinister to emerge. "Clara?" I said, confusion wrapping around me. "But I thought you were lost." Her face, innocent yet haunted, dipped into a knowing half-smile. "I am here. You have to choose."
You can help me, but it will come at a cost. The shadows thickened, shifting like ominous clouds closing in. I felt my resolve shatter slightly. "What cost?" I asked, trying to remain calm. This was beginning to feel like a game I didn't understand, a trap designed to ensnare me. "Join us," she whispered, yet I detected a thread of fear beneath her words. "You have to let go." The dark shadow once more rumbled like thunder, shaking the walls. I glanced to the corners of the room where wispy silhouettes gathered. Panic surged as the laughter returned, echoing, "Join us! Join us!" The whispers split apart like a distorting mirror, beckoning me into an inky abyss. "Lucy!" I cried out in desperation, clutching the locket, the last tangibility I had of her. "I won't let you go, not like this." The girl in front of me flickered like a candle, shadows creeping closer, merging into one menacing form. "The choice is yours," she urged, her voice now strained against the cacophony. "You have to help me find Clara, but you risk losing everything." As fear coursed through my veins, I understood. I had to confront the darkness to bring her back. With trembling hands, I raised the locket towards the gathered shadows, feeling the weight of my decision settle over me. "I will help you," I declared, voice unwavering even in the face of uncertainty. "But you have to promise me that I won't lose you." The shadows retreated momentarily, allowing a glimmer of light to shine through. Yet even as the darkness momentarily parted, I knew we weren't free yet. The whispers intensified, lashing at the edges of my sanity. And then, before I could protest, I was engulfed in the shimmer of shadows, flickering lights merging with the echoes of giggling children, spiraling into a whirlwind of chaos where the line between reality and nightmare blurred. I was left to wonder what awaited me beyond this darkness. Would I find Lucy, or would I lose myself to whatever had been lurking in this house? The boundaries of childhood memory and spectral dread collapsing around me. The choice had been made.